We will have a 12-minute break. It is now 3:18. Maybe we can come back at 3:30. Okay, so we are back, and I can see that we have some answers in the chat box. So the question was, should developed countries bear more responsibility for combating climate change? Let's go through the answers together. So I'm starting from the bottom. Aslı says hat doesn't mean developing countries shouldn't do anything, but expecting them to take on the same load without the same resources just isn't fair. That makes a lot of sense. Thank you, Aslı. We also have Elena. If you make a mess, you clean it up, right? Yes, that's right. Same deal here. Developed countries played a big part in creating this problem, so they should be leading the way to fix it. Very, very true. Very, very wise answer. Nush, international deals like Paris Agreement already says that richer countries should take the lead. It's not just a nice idea, it's something world leaders have agreed on. Yes, even though the world leaders have agreed on that, the question is, are they taking this approach or are they not? Very nice answer, thank you. Ikinsu says poorer countries are often hit the hardest by climate change. Things like floods, droughts, and food shortages, but they didn't really cause the problem. So it's only fair that the countries who did should step up more. Okay, so until now, all the answer says that yes, developed countries should bear more responsibility. And the first answer, Ahmed, let's be real, rich countries have the money, tools, know-how to make big changes. They can invest in clean energy, build better infrastructure, and help other countries deal with climate issues. It's just easier for them. That's very, very true. I wonder, is there anyone that says no, developed countries shouldn't be taking the responsibility? No, there isn't anyone that is saying that. So I think we all agree. Let me share the screen back again. We are back. Okay, we are back to our webinar. Okay. So, debate. We will be taking some examples of debate. How do you debate climate change in the classroom when addressing topics of discussion that is related to climate change? So one of an example is, for example, asking, should governments impose stricter regulations on industries to reduce carbon emissions? The purpose of this question is to encourage students to evaluate the role of policy in combating climate change and the balance between economic growth and environmental responsibility. Focus questions would be the pros, cons of stricter rules, and how might these policies impact businesses and consumers. The focus questions are basically, as teachers, you should know that the focus questions is the part where the students will be researching in order to answer the debate question. Because, you know, if we do impose stricter regulations on industries to reduce carbon emissions, there will be different businesses and consumers that have billions and billions of dollars that will be impacted. As well as there are some advantages, but also we can face some disadvantages when we do apply stricter regulations. Can businesses and consumers cope with that or not? Another question is, are renewable energy sources like solar, wind, the only solution to global energy crisis? So it does spark a debate about the diversity of energy uses that we have and practicality of transitioning to 100% renewable energy. Another question is, how can individual actions make a significant impact on reducing climate change? So this makes the student feel more personalized, connecting to their personal behaviors with broader environmental outcomes. Another question is, how can climate change education empower young people to take action? So this explores the role of education in addressing climate crisis, motivating the student to think critically about their potential and impact, which is exactly what we want as teachers. Now, let's move on to utilizing multimedia resources, documentaries, podcasts, and infographics for climate change education. We are now in 2025, and this means AI and tech is speeding like light. It is going on very fast. There are new updates every day. There's some new software, something happening. So nowadays, our target group students are not the kind of students that would just be okay with opening a book, learning about a subject, and closing it. For this reason, we thought in this webinar, we discuss the details of utilizing multimedia resources. So some multimedia resources essential for teaching climate change effectively because they offer visual, auditory, and data-driven ways to explore complex topics. So how do we utilize multimedia in an educational setting? We have documentaries, we have podcasts, and we have infographics. For documentaries, the purpose is to provide a real-world insight showcasing the cause and effects of climate change with compelling visuals and expert narratives. They help students to connect theoretical concepts to practical real-world scenarios. So an example is a documentary called Before the Flood. The narrator is Leonardo DiCaprio. The content is basically exploring global impacts of climate change. So it talks about melting ice caps, rising sea levels, extreme weather changes, and also it has a part of the documentary presenting solutions like renewable energy and sustainable practices. The way that teachers can use this documentary is to educate students on global perspectives and solutions to climate challenges. Another documentary we have is a Netflix original documentary called Chasing Coral. So it is streaming on Netflix. The focus of it is underwater photography to document coral bleaching caused by climate change. Educational value explains the science behind ocean warming and its ecological impacts. The relevance is that it's useful to understand the marine ecosystems and biodiversity loss. For now, I think that it would be very nice if we watch the trailer of the documentary, hoping that this time there will be sound. So I will just, is there a sound? Can you guys hear if there is any sounds? Okay, wait, let me try again and tell me if you can hear now. Can you hear? Stop sharing screen and share again with audio. Okay. All right, let me do that. Thank you guys for the help. Okay. Can you guys hear now?
It's a world completely out of sight and out. Most people stare up into space with wonder. Yet we have this almost alien world on our own planet, just teeming with life. It's a world completely out of sight and out of mind.
I have the utmost respect for corals. They're really sophisticated animals.
Coral is a fundamental part of a huge ecosystem.
They continue living as long as their environment allows them to.
There's this big heat wave that's traveling around all over the world. The coral bleaches, and what you're seeing is its skeleton underneath. It's like your body temperature changing. That's the seriousness of the issue. So we're sending 2 teams to put cameras down and capture this bleaching event.
The wind and the storm is really the controlling factor right now.
The wind just took us. The stern anchor didn't hold.
It's just demolished. You're working in an environment every single day that humans weren't built for. Your body is cut up, and then you open your eyes, and it's dead as far as you can see.
We don't have any time to waste if we want to have any hope.
We live at a unique moment in time where we can change history. It's not too late for coral reefs.
This has got to wake up the world.
Yes. So this is a video that is done by Netflix MENA, and it is also shared by Netflix MENA on their given website. I believe you can see my screen again. Yes. So let me know if you do end up watching it, and let me know what you think. So we will move on to more documentary example, the 2040 documentary, Join the Regeneration, which explores innovative climate solutions that could reverse climate change impacts by 2040. The value of it is that it highlights optimism by showcasing renewable energy, sustainable agriculture, and regenerative practices, which is an entertaining and uplifting documentary. Moving on to the next way that we can utilize multimedia is by the use of infographics. So infographics help teach students about climate change in a way that they combine visual appeal with concise information, making complex topics easier to understand and retain. As you can see, this is an example of an infographic, but another example of an infographic will be shown later in the slides. But first, let's say, how do they help to teach? So infographics have the ability to simplify concepts that are very complicated and complex. Climate science involves technical terms, data, and processes like carbon cycles, greenhouse gas effects, and feedback loops. Infographics can help to break these down into digestible visual segments. We also have that it enhances visual learning. So many students are visual learners who grasp information better through images, charts, and graphs. So I want you to tell me, what is your learning style? There are a few learning styles. There are people that learn visually. There are people that simply visual learning does not work with them. So you can share your learning style in the chat box, and we'll go through that later. Engaging and retaining attention. So climate change can feel overwhelming, but infographics distill large amounts of information into concise formats, helping to keep the students focused and interested. So another reason why it's helpful is that it supports data literacy. You can visualize the data. So we're going to have, in an infographic, usually there is a bar chart, line graph, pie chart, a way to explain the data in an easier manner. Encourages critical thinking. So infographics present the information in a way that it challenges the students to think critically. It also promotes accessibility because they have universal symbols and minimal text. So mostly it's images from the name infographics, making them accessible to diverse learning levels and language abilities. Also creating a call to action. Usually infographics do include actionable tips and solutions, which motivate the students to take small steps towards sustainability. So here's an example of an infographic. Let's take a look at that. Global warming. It also has the causes. So we have the causes: deforestation, waste disposal, overconsumption, mining, fossil fuels, intensive farming. If you look at that infographic in a way that you are a teacher, you can see that the overconsumption, since it's the maximum number in terms of percentage, it shows that it's 30% and it's in red. Infographics are, it's important in the way that you create your infographic, because you need to make sure that it makes sense. So overconsumption, 30% is in red because it's the highest, it's important. And then we have the rest is in green because it is 20, so it's a little less than the red. But then we have 10% the fossil fuels, the mining, the intensive farming, and so on. Then we have a section that basically, of course, in the beginning, it can explain to us what is global warming. And then we have the prevention on the side with elements and pictures that help us understand what we're looking at. Another example of infographic, the environmental global problems. So we also have some percentages here. If you can see, it's not that clear, but the most biggest percentage is shown in dark red, which is plastic. And then we have the pinkish color going more to the left. We have water pollution 30. So it's the use of colors, use of graphics, use of elements all together in order to create an infographic. It's very, very important. Now, assessing student understanding effective evaluation strategies for climate education. Let me check the chat box if we have any answer on terms of the learning style. We have one answer only from Fatih. Okay, audio, visual learner, both helps me learn the topics faster. That's very nice. Thank you, Fatih, for sharing. Anyone else has another different learning style, please share. We will be going through that later. Any questions, any comments, please, you can put them on in the box. So, evaluation is a key part of climate education.